Volkanovski, clinch, lot of knees. He's gonna eat a lot of knees. He's gonna take his all energy.
Habib Nurmagomedov has weighed in on a potential Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski matchup and explained how his longtime teammate would beat the Great. At the UFC 280 event, Makhachev secured a spectacular second-round submission win over Charles Oliveira to become the new UFC lightweight champion. The fight witnessed Makhachev extend his win streak to 11 and end former UFC lightweight champion Oliveira's 11-fight win streak. During Makhachev's post-fight Octagon interview, he and Nurmagomedov suggested that the former would love to defend the lightweight belt against Volkanovski next. The contract for a possible fight between newly crowned lightweight title holder Islam Makhachev and reigning UFC featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski hasn't been signed yet. Regardless, UFC Hall of Famer and former UFC lightweight champion Habib Nurmagomedov has already broken down how he feels the fight will play out. Speaking to ESPN MMA's Brett Okamoto, the Eagle stated, he continued,
"Take him down and he's gonna choke him out. This is what I think. This is the way how I see how his fight gonna go."
Of course, Volkanovski can box. He has amazing experience. How many times has he defended his title? Everything. But brother, this is like thigh clinch is gonna kill him. Because even if he knows this, let him prepare for this. How many months? 5 months? 6 months? This guy, Makhachev, is doing this for 20 years. Habib Nurmagomedov insinuated that Alexander Volkanovski can prepare all he wants for Islam Makhachev's incredible wrestling, tie clinch, and left hand, but would still lose. The Dagestan native highlighted that Makhachev would surely dethrone Volkanovski to become the UFC's new #1 ranked pound-for-pound fighter. Islam Makhachev and Habib Nurmagomedov capped off their Octagon interview with an epic face-off between Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski.
Of course, Volkanovski can box. He have amazing experience. How many times he defend his title, everything. But brother,
heading into UFC 280, Volkanovski served as Makhachev and Oliveira's matchup backup replacement fighter. The Great even made the 155-pound lightweight championship weight for the event.
Even if you know this, let him prepare this. How many months? 5 months, 6 months? Yep. This guy doing this 20 years.
It's believed that the potential super fight between UFC featherweight kingpin Volkanovski and UFC lightweight champ Makhachev will be contested at lightweight with the latter's title at stake. Makhachev, Nurmagomedov, and Volkanovski also appeared to be in agreement that the fight would transpire in the Great's native Australia. The consensus is that their matchup could headline the UFC 284 event on February 12, 2023 at the RAC Arena in Perth, Australia. On the other hand, Conor McGregor took shots at both through a single tweet. McGregor uploaded a collage of the two champions with their belts. His tweet was captioned, "My 2 old belts on 2 little ticks. This fight does 10 buys." The Notorious One also tweeted a few controversial statements after Islam Makhachev's win over Charles Oliveira at UFC 280, crowning him the new lightweight champion. He went on to mock Makhachev's mentor and his bitter rival Habib Nurmagomedov, labeling him as a fat mouth. Makhachev's post-fight interview in UFC 280 ended with Nurmagomedov planning out his next fight with the featherweight champion. The Great also made his way inside the octagon for a non-violent face-off with Makhachev and congratulated him on his win. The roaring response from the audience made it somewhat clear that the next big money fight would probably be Makhachev versus Volkanovski. However, the Irishman, Conor, had his own predictions about this fight. He said, "This fight does 10 buys," deriding the marketing ability of both Makhachev and Volkanovski. McGregor thought that he was a lot superior in terms of selling fights to the audiences. The Makhachev versus Volkanovski fight is probably going to be a 2-weight division championship fight. The winner will be crowned a 2-weight division champion, just like McGregor was back in the day. It also may be the case that McGregor is trying to feud with the possible future 2-weight champion so that he can get a title shot right upon his return to the UFC. Meanwhile, Alexander Volkanovski vows that he will give Islam Makhachev a hard time on the canvas. UFC featherweight champion Volkanovski was called into the octagon by Makhachev, who submitted Charles Oliveira this past Saturday at UFC 280 to claim the vacant lightweight title. Makhachev is game to defend his title against Volkanovski at UFC 284 in Perth, Australia, and is oozing confidence after using his dominant grappling to finish another opponent. But Volkanovski says Makhachev won't be able to control him.
Oh man, every time I watch a fight, I guess I'm thinking like that, right? That's just how I am. That's how my brain works.
I feel like he's sort of underestimating me in a sense. Volkanovski told Submission Radio, "Where I'm just a featherweight, a small featherweight, how am I going to be able to handle his strength? You know what I mean?" That's how he's looking at it, which is going to be a shock when we're in that octagon. All week, he might be looking at me thinking I'm small and all that type of stuff, but as soon as I'm in front of him, getting him uncomfortable on the feet, making him want to shoot desperately for a takedown because he's uncomfortable, that's when he tries to grab a hold of me and reel realize, oh shit, the short guy isn't as weak as I thought and struggles to get me down. Or even if he does get me down, I'll get straight back up. Makhachev called Volkanovski a short guy, but Volkanovski says he'll make that work in his favor. The featherweight champion has been at a height disadvantage in the majority of fights throughout his career. I ain't gonna just be standing in front of you, Volkanovski said. You're gonna be trying to figure out a puzzle in front of you. The movement's gonna be difficult, you're gonna try and grab a leg, and all that type of stuff. But again, you need to be in the right position to feel comfortable to shoot, and he won't feel that straight away. Then he's gonna get a little more desperate and try to grab the legs and all that. And again, this is the stuff that he hasn't had to deal with. There's no way there's people that have a calculated footwork like I have that he's faced. There's no way, so I can't wait to put that puzzle in front of him, make him pay, get him uncomfortable. And then again, the small stature, this guy, you know, this is another thing. Him calling me short, I don't think he realizes that that helps me in a situation with someone like him. Let's be real, the size advantage in that, having that weight is obviously going to be a big factor. But me having the small stature, the stocky build, especially knowing how hard I am to hold down, is going to help me in the situation. Me being like the short, stocky fellow that I am, I'm very hard to hold down. Like if you get me down, now that obviously I'm going to be training a lot more takedowns, I'm going to be very hard to take down. Usually, I don't have to worry about that. I know I'm going to get back up. I don't need to worry about that. Now I'm going to be focusing on that for the next 3 or 4 months. You know what I mean? And trust me, I'm going to be very, very hard to hold. And that's something again that he hasn't really dealt with.